Hey there, I want to share with you how to set goals for 2024 and actually achieve them. So in this conversation, I am going to be taking you through my Align coaching framework to really help you identify how you can navigate these steps to achieve the goals that you're setting for 2024. So starting out with the Align coaching framework, what does that mean? What I found over the course of my career is there are some specific steps that are really going to help you in navigating the process from setting goals to actually achieving those goals. And it starts with articulating your values. What is most important to you in this season of life? Once we have those values established, which can take some time if you've never done this process before, we're going to lay out values-based goals. And you may have heard of SMART goals before. I'm layering on to that whole SMART goal concept with saying, how is this in alignment with your values? How, when things get challenging or when you feel these conflicts, how are you going to remind yourself of how this goal is aligned with what is most important to you in this season of life? So that's the L. The next step is implementing habits and behaviors that are going to help you achieve this goal. And it's really important to look at things that you can do consistently. So what I like to focus on here is looking at a scaled approach to this, and we'll talk about that more in just a moment. We're going to grapple with limiting beliefs. So what are the challenges? What are the thoughts that you have that might be keeping you from achieving this goal? And then navigate growth. So this is a cyclical process. It's not a one and done. Remembering that and kind of consistently coming back to these principles where you might recognize that something is not in alignment with your values and you need to adjust the goal. Or you may recognize that your values maybe have changed, and so you need to reevaluate some of this process. So once we've articulated our values and what's important to me, we want to look at what is our current level of satisfaction in those specific areas of life. And in my coaching practice, I use a tool called the Wheel of Life. So within the Wheel of Life, it has some standard areas, and I work with clients to really adjust that based on their values and what's important to them. But we're going to assess your current level of satisfaction in each area. And then once we've assessed your satisfaction, you're going to identify what do you want to focus on in this season of life. So we know that some things are going to take priorities in certain seasons of life. And so if we can identify what's most important to you right now in this season, we can start to set goals based around that, while also looking at how does that affect all of the other values. So next, when we look at laying out values-based goals, again, we're going to look at SMART goals. So is it specific, measurable, attainable, or attractive? I like to say too, is it something that you want for you, not for anyone else? Relevant and time-based. And I think the time-based one can be a little bit tricky, because if you have a longer term goal, like if you have a goal that you think is going to take you like 5 years to achieve, that time-based sometimes can inhibit you from continuing to work forwards because it just feels like you're consistently failing. So I think it's looking at, when you're looking at time-based, sometimes it can be helpful to look at habit or behavior-based goals. So what are you going to do? What are the steps that you're taking towards that outcome-based goal, which would be, what you want to achieve in 5 years. So thinking about when we're setting values-based goals, how will your goal impact other areas of your life? What are you willing to deprioritize in order to prioritize this goal? We only have a certain amount of time. We only have a certain amount of energy. So what do you want to really put your energy and focus into? And what are you willing to not put focus and energy into during this specific season? So our next step is implementing habits. And I love a principle called tiny habits. And tiny habits is really looking at what is the smallest step that you can take towards doing that behavior on a consistent basis. So what are you ready, willing, and able to start doing today within your schedule, within what you have, the framework that you have existing now? So for example, if your goal is to, get healthier and you want to join a gym and you want to work out 5 days a week so that you can lose 20 pounds, the smallest step that you could take might be starting to do exercises at home that are body weight, right? So that you don't need to buy any equipment, you don't need to do anything else. It's something that doesn't require any more effort, time, energy, money from you than just the time to actually do the exercise. Another critical element is identifying when will you do this new habit. And you can use something called habit stacking. This is a principle that I learned about from BJ Fogg in the book called Tiny Habits. He's a researcher from, I believe, Stanford University. And so what he talks about with that is when you are already doing one habit, you can place that new habit on top of the existing habit. So, and the way that you do that is through an ABC framework. After the behavior that you're doing now, brush my teeth, the new behavior that you want to do 5 push-ups. And then how will you reward yourself after you do that thing? So celebrate is a huge component of that too, because cognitively, our brain really thrives on that celebration. So if you can celebrate yourself doing that tiny habit, you're more likely to do more challenging habits down the road. The next one is grappling with those limiting beliefs. And there are a lot of different, with each of these different categories, there are a lot of different tools and techniques I use. I'm sharing just a couple with you that you can start implementing. But with thought monitoring, starting with the question, is this thought true? Do you have evidence that this is factual? And then what thought would feel better to you right now? Would it feel better to believe that nobody showed up to your webinar because it's on a Friday afternoon and people have busy schedules, or it's the holiday season? What would feel better to you to believe in that moment than the thought that you're having? And then the last step is navigating growth, and having a growth mindset throughout this process of goal setting is really, really critical. So the way that I like to think of it is really shifting from a mindset of failure to a mindset of experimentation. We have the opportunity to identify what worked, what didn't, what will we change next time, how will we go through this process to really make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success in the next experiment, the next time we try this new thing. And then evaluate learning from each experiment.